like the video.
Kanye has apologized. Again.
He decided to come out with this full-page apology in the Wall Street Journal. It came out on Monday, 4 days before his album Bully was set to drop. Both ironic and an interesting coincidence. Naturally, the album has already been delayed to March, but that was just one of the few reasons that people were not so quick to accept this apology. There are a ton of reasons, and I'm gonna try and get into all of them, but first I want to actually just read the apology because I feel like a lot of people are just taking things out of context. So we're gonna go through it all, we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna talk about people's reaction to it. It's Derapy. All right, this is Kanye West straight out of the Wall Street Journal. The title of this post is To Those I've Hurt. 25 years ago, I was in a car accident that broke my jaw and caused injury to the right frontal lobe of my brain. At the time, the focus was on the visible damage, the fracture, the swelling, and the immediate physical trauma. The deeper injury, the one inside my skull, went unnoticed. Comprehensive scans were not done, neurological exams were limited, and the possibility of a frontal lobe injury was never raised. It wasn't properly diagnosed until 2023. That medical oversight caused serious damage to my mental health and led to my bipolar type 1 diagnosis. So 25 years ago, he got into this car crash, which we knew about, broke his jaw, knew about that, but he's saying that it actually gave him brain damage, which honestly tracks. I don't necessarily think what he's saying here is that the car crash gave him bipolar disorder. He says the medical oversight caused serious damage to his mental health and led to the bipolar diagnosis. It almost sounds like he's blaming the oversight for damaging his mental health and that triggered the bipolar. It's not written in a way that it's like super easy to determine exactly how he's saying he became bipolar. In my experience, knowing people who have had it, it's genetic or it's based on trauma, but I am not a doctor. Regardless, this is just set up to explain the behavior. Let's continue. Bipolar disorder comes with its own defense system, denial. When you're manic, you don't think you're sick. You think everyone else is overreacting. You feel like you're seeing the world more clearly than ever, when in reality, you're losing your grip entirely. Once people label you as quote-unquote crazy, you feel as if you cannot contribute anything meaningful to the world. It's easy for people to joke and laugh it off when in fact, this is a very serious, debilitating disease you can die from. According to the World Health Organization and Cambridge University, people with bipolar disorder have a life expectancy that is shortened by 10 to 15 years on average and a 2 to 3 times higher all-cause mortality rate than the general population. This is on par with severe heart disease, type 1 diabetes, HIV, and cancer, all lethal and fatal if left untreated. I can see why people don't think Kanye West wrote this. It does sound like an essay I would have written in college. Varied sentence structure, citing of sources, but I do believe at its core, it is all coming from Kanye, especially based on what we're gonna hear later. I like the fact that Kanye West is trying to, share some of the knowledge that he's acquired, but it kind of comes off as a sympathy play, a bit of a lecture. Being bipolar is as bad as HIV, cancer, or severe heart disease. We hear you, but this is supposed to be to who you've hurt. It feels more like a presentation at this point, but let's continue. The scariest thing about this disorder is how persuasive it is when it tells you you don't need help. It makes you blind, but convinced you have insight. You feel powerful, certain, unstoppable. I lost touch with reality. Things got worse the longer I ignored the problem. I said and did things I deeply regret. Some of the people I loved the most, I treated the worst. You endured fear, confusion, humiliation, and the exhaustion of trying to have someone who was at times unrecognizable. Looking back, I became detached from my true self. In that fractured state, I gravitated toward the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the difficult aspects of having bipolar type 1 are the disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall. That led to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes felt like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state, and am committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. I really want to appreciate this apology because I believe in the power of forgiveness. I really, really do. But the idea that you gravitate towards the most destructive symbol you could find, and it just so happens to be the people that you've been hating on for years, I find this particular paragraph kind of hard to stomach if I'm being serious. Kanye West is legitimately trying to tell us that when he's in a manic state, he's hating on Jewish people, but when he's not, then he isn't. He loves Jewish people. It's just a weird thing to say out loud. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't think I believe him. When it comes to my relationship with Jewish people, it's pretty neutral. And I think a lot of people are neutral towards a lot of people. I feel about Jewish people the way I feel about Muslim people, Christians, Jamaicans, Canadians, the people that live in Japan, the Swedish derps. I find it very unsettling that Kanye feels like he has to be in a place where he's either selling merch that mocks them, kicking it with people that despise them, or he loves them and he has to publicly display that love. Saying I'm not a Nazi and I'm not an anti-Semite is good. Good for you. I never thought you actually were. I just thought you were, with all due respect, out of your mind, being a wanker, or trying to prove a point. I'm not one of those people that believes he quote unquote got the call or they got to him. But I think Kanye might still be in that mindset, and I think that's the problem. I personally don't think about Jewish people much at all, but Kanye is like, I either love them or they're trying to ruin my life. There's no in between. That's kind of my read of it. Please, this is a good time to leave a comment and let me know what you think about that specific sentiment, because I feel like he's not actually really doing them any favors by speaking about them this way. That's just my opinion, though. Let's continue with the actual statement. To the black community, which held me down through all of the highs and lows and the darkest of times, the black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I am so sorry to have let you down. I love us. And that's it. That's all. That's all black people get. It's not a contest. He should be apologizing to everyone, and I think he kind of tries to, but I just think it's worth noting that Kanye already apologized in a video to a rabbi and had that spread everywhere. That was in November, I believe, where he was on video, like, sitting and talking to that dude. I do think, to give Kanye credit, it has been a considerable amount of time since he had like an outburst. I'm pretty sure the last time I talked about him or heard him do anything was in August when he was pushing like a crypto project or something. A sign of someone who needs money. But he hasn't actually done anything outrageous or horrible since spring 2025, I believe. So we're building some positive momentum. The post continues. In early 2025, I fell into a 4-month-long manic episode of psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive behavior that destroyed my life. As the situation became increasingly unsustainable, there were times I didn't want to be here anymore. Having bipolar disorder is a notable state of constant mental illness. When you go into a manic episode, you are ill at that point. When you are not in an episode, you are completely quote-unquote normal, and that's when the wreckage from the illness hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. I have found comfort in Reddit forums of all places. Different people speak of being in manic or depressive episodes of a similar nature. I read their stories, then realized that I was not alone. It's not just me who ruins their life once a year despite taking meds every day and being told by the so-called best doctors in the world that I am not bipolar, but merely experiencing quote-unquote symptoms of autism. So a few things here. Kanye claims he was in a manic state for 4 entire months. I am no expert, but that seems like an incredibly long time to be in that state. I did not know that could last that long. I do think it's wonderful that Kanye's wife was the one who encouraged him to get help. He's been blessed with 2 partners now, at least, that have just saints' patience. How I knew Kanye wrote this article, by the way, though, at least in large part, was him saying he found comfort in Reddit. That very much sounds like a Kanye thing. He was probably over there on like r/bipolar or something. It is important to find communities that can be supportive and uplifting. I will say I absolutely do not recommend this, generally speaking, especially going to Reddit. If you are feeling down bad, I would not advise seeking counsel or comfort from people who may validate your worst thoughts or feelings. I have personal experience with this. Please do not do it. It can make things much worse, actually. If it helped Kanye, then God bless him, but we got to be careful telling people to hit that orange app for solace. That is generally not the move. This is how our statement ends. My words as a leader in my community have global impact and influence. In my mania, I lost complete sight of that. As I find my new baseline and new center through an effective regimen of medication, therapy, exercise, and clean living, I have newfound, much-needed clarity. I am pouring my energy into positive, meaningful art, music, clothing, design, and other new ideas to help the world. I am not asking for sympathy or a free pass, though I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understanding as I find my way home. With love, Ye. I have a lot more to say about this, but I just want to say it is good to apologize. And while I'm a little annoyed that this wasn't posted directly to his Twitter where he did a lot of his damage, I can appreciate that it's not an Instagram story that'll disappear. I do appreciate the part at the end where he says he's not asking for sympathy or a free pass. To be fair, nobody, and I mean literally nobody, is trying to give you a free pass. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. There's like a small subsection of like diehard Ye fans that were perfectly fine quietly buying into some of the more harmful takes of his, or just hiding behind the separate the art from the artist thing, which is kind of just like another way of saying, I don't care what he did, I just like the music, which I don't think is great, but at least I can understand and respect you being honest about it. Anyways, here's how I feel about the apology. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's a step in the right direction. For me, I'd rather him have done it than not done it, because otherwise I would just go the rest of my life thinking he's broken. His brain is gone. Kanye did terrible things and then he left. But now the latest is that he's trying to be good, and that is good for everybody. What I would love would be for him to condemn the people that he helped platform. The people that he surrounded himself with, I think deserve all the shame in the world. Nick Fuentes, I would argue, is where he is because of Kanye. Candace Owens got a big boost from him. Andrew Tate, Sneeko, a whole lot of weirdos online are better off now because of Ye, and I wish he would acknowledge that. A lot of people are still out here screaming free Puff, free Diddy, and a lot of that stems from Kanye West. He released that track, Heil Hitler, and I would love for him to be like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Please don't play that song. I wouldn't like you to do that at all. I know that no matter what he put out in the apology, there was going to be somebody somewhere, just like I am right now, that's like, what about that thing? Well, what about this thing? And maybe it's not fair to expect him to address it all at once, but I do think it's fair to say the apology has to be as loud as the initial action. If you spent 4 straight months being a monster, spend 4 straight months posting good things. Can you do that? Is it possible? I want to end this show by reading and reacting to some comments from members of the channel. These are some reactions to the apology letter. One simply reads, he's got an album dropping. And that was honestly my first reaction to seeing the timing of the letter. Thankfully, but I also think inevitably, his album was pushed back. But I do think it's fair to point out the fact that this dropped 4 days before an album was supposed to release, and I don't know why he wouldn't push back the release before releasing the letter, but I'm sure he's doing his best. Another comment says, the best apology is changed behavior, so I'm not going to take his apology as anything good until I see changed behavior. He's done this before. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. A lot of people are kind of choosing the let's just wait and see route, which I think is valid. He spent months and months and months being awful, so let's have him build up some equity to show that he's truly changed. And this isn't just one of those things where he goes back on everything, or he drops an album called Bully, where he's still exhibiting bully-like behavior. This comment says, being bipolar doesn't make you racist, and a car accident from 24 years ago doesn't make you say the things he said about Black and LGBTQ plus people. He's still a loser in my eyes, and I was once a huge fan, but I saw the writing on the wall during My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But who cares? What I think a majority of his fan base will forgive him if the next album is good, if they were ever mad in the first place. Yeah, I think it's totally valid that some people view this as not really moving the needle much at all. I do think it's worth mentioning that I totally forgot about this because I wasn't the affected group. He was talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids and their mental capacity, using words that we should not to describe people's children. He also was using slurs that were offensive to the LGBT community, and he didn't mention anything about that in this statement, in this letter. One could argue that he's only apologizing specifically to people and groups that would help him have a more successful career. Some parts of him thinks he can't have peace without first apologizing to Jewish people and saying that he loves them and reiterating he's not a Nazi. Secondly, apologizing to Black people, the ones who have been fans the longest and are most likely to consume product, and his closest people who he has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Another comment says, there's a lot of people saying bipolar doesn't make you racist or homophobic or anti-Semitic. But as someone with bipolar in the family, it can do that and worse. My mother is bipolar, and during her episode, she was terrifying, completely different as a person. I'm ready to see if you can stay on the right path and make this happen. This is wishful thinking, and for the record, I think that people are saying, generally speaking, if you have bipolar, you are not going to go into a manic state where you become those things. I will say this. First of all, I'm so sorry that your mother turned into any version of what Kanye was spewing, but I don't think these thoughts come from nowhere. I think Kanye had some of these thoughts and feelings in him for a while, and the episodes that he was going through kind of emboldened him to spew madness with no filter. This comment says, "There's a difference between this time and last time. As somebody that's followed him for years and years and years, it says a lot that we haven't heard from him in months before this. People bringing up the Jonah Hill thing are stupid. That was clearly never serious. I don't know if he's actually going to turn things around, but there was a certain level of lucidity that I can't ignore, and I really hope he's going to get better. People really downplay how radically different a condition like bipolar can be when we're talking about somebody famous versus your homie or friend that has bipolar. Being surrounded by people you're paying can really mess up your brain when you have the disease that tells you you're not crazy and makes you act crazy." I do think that it's worth acknowledging that there are absolutely levels to this. Somebody that you know being bipolar that doesn't have the access to the resources that Kanye does may not act in a similar way. It's very clear that this is the most polished and sincere looking apology to date, unlike any other. I still personally wouldn't boil it down to, well, this is a really serious case. He's a very special case because of his status and his access, and now he's very sorry. What more do you want him to do? I don't think this comment is saying that, but I think the same way people can underestimate how debilitating bipolar can be for someone, they could also very easily underestimate the sheer amount of harm that Kanye has done with his actions over the course of years. We're not just talking about this 4-month period from last year. I'm just conflicted. I guess that's kind of where I'm ending this. It's really hard to assume that this apology, even though it looks like the best, is going to be the most sincere, and the behavior has changed to a point where we just don't expect him to crash out anymore. I'm trying not to be cynical. I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in forgiveness, but even I am like, there's just a lot more work to be done, you know? Most of the apology, most of the statement is fine. It's just like factual stuff. I don't think he's making up the Reddit stuff or the fact that his wife encouraged him to get help, the clean living, being on meds. Like, I don't think that's an act. I think two things can be true. He is trying to be a better human being. He also needs to portray publicly that he is being a better human being in order for him to have any type of career. He dropped this album Donda 2 last year. I didn't even know that had happened. I don't even know what that thing sounds like. I just heard that he was mumbling and there were AI vocals or whatever. Like, I hope he gets better, not just for the sake of like his music career, but like just for the sake of, you know, like a fellow human being getting their life together. Also for his kids, you know, that'd be nice if they had a father that wasn't, you know, having to tell you in a Wall Street Journal article that they're not a Nazi. But yeah, let me know what you all think. I'm interested to read all of your comments. Do you think that the apology is sincere? What was your favorite part of it, or what you think was problematic about it? What more does he need to address? Do you still listen to him? I'm gonna read all the comments. I really, really, really want to know because I don't know what to make of all this. There's a lot to it. But yeah, if you made it this far, please
like the video
and comment. Bully is never dropping. Also, if you want to support the show, consider joining the channel for as little as $1. Love you, mean it. Spread the bread and enjoy the outro. It's not Kanye.
Seeing how the word had changed me, talking to my therapist, seeing how the world had pained me, been talking to my savior, been thankful for how he saved me. Was a hard drive, but thanks to my memory, this road paved me. But I struggle when in silence. I'm flashy, but also modest. I'm honest, knowing regardless. I'm loving, but also heartless. Not got it, you're feeling godless. The cleaning now got me guarded. He saved my dearly departed. He changed my life.